Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you're all having a great weekend. We're gonna do another market review on indices, this time for 28th of July, 29th of July actually, 2022. So, if you guys want to see more daily reviews of the indices, let me know in the comments and I will keep doing those. But for now, let's dive into the price action, right? Looking at the start of the day, right, through day open at New York midnight, right? What is occurring at this time? We have an accumulation phase over here. So what do we want to see when price is in consolidation or an accumulation? If we follow the AMD model, right, the accumulation, manipulation, distribution model, we want to see a manipulation phase at the open of the kill zone for indices, which is 830. You can actually see it happening over here, right? So we have the accumulation, then the manipulation happens at 8:30. We're hitting a higher time frame POI, and actually something that's very interesting in this occasion, we had SMT, right? SMT is smart money technique or smart money tool. So you compare two indices with each other, right? So this was SMT with NASDAQ. So if you go to NASDAQ, you can actually see these same two lows actually get rated by NASDAQ but left intact by ES. So what does that mean? It means two things. NASDAQ is weaker at that moment in time, so it has no issue rating the sell side liquidity, hitting a 15-minute order block in the process. And ES is that much stronger at that moment in time that it cannot even rate this low. So if you want to be a buyer, which one do you take, right? I would take the one that doesn't rate the sell side liquidity at that same moment in time, because it indicates it's stronger at that moment in time. So interesting to see that SMT occurring at what was it, just after equity open. So 9:30 is equity open, right? Good little SMT break of structure after, right? We have this short-term high up here. Break of structure up on NASDAQ, and look at where do we want to target price, right? We see these relative equal highs up here. We see previous daily high, and then again, after break of structure, it's leaving highs close to those relative equal highs again. So our buyer should instantly be, we want to attack the buy side liquidity, right? So now you have to wait for price to come back into discount at least, right? And then on a fair value gap or an order block to take your entry. Let's take a Fibonacci, right? Let's see where premium and discount is at this moment in time. So if we pull up the Fib from low to the high, we can actually see everything below this 0.5 level is in discount. So the fair value gap actually starts in premium already. So at earliest you could have gotten in over here. And then put your stop loss as the logical PD array, right? Below an order block, especially when there's SMT and showing NASDAQ is the weaker indices out of the two. So it can run a little bit lower than ES. So this was the earliest you could have gotten in and then have a little bit of a wider stop. But most favorable would have been the order block, and I'm going to explain why that is. If you take ES, for example, look at the time, right? 11:25 a.m. At that moment in time, it hits the fair value gap. So if we go to NASDAQ and go to 11:25, it's this candle, this not the last black candle down, but the one prior to it. You can actually see if you take the same timing as ES, you are already in that order block. So waiting on ES to take a trade on NASDAQ is actually good, especially when it's weaker, and we know it's weaker because of the SMT, right? It ran lower and it did not take previous daily high. And if you go back to ES, we already ran that previous daily high over here, right? After breaking the structure at the same time as NASDAQ. So which pairs should you pick to trade at this moment? I would go with ES. Simply because it has no strength to go lower, indicating it has more strength than NASDAQ. It raised the previous daily high already, so normally you would say, okay, buy side liquidity has already been purged over here, right? So I don't really feel comfortable on being a buyer. But look, we also have relative equal highs. We have the SMT, which confirms our bias, right? Overall, the higher time frame is bullish, so we should stick with that bias. So after equity open, we run up, and then it's just waiting time to get back into discount. So this is a very beautiful fair value gap left behind after the sell side liquidity rate. So we rated this low, and then we rated this short-term low down here. Pretty good displacement. That's something you have to see. You have to see that fair value gap and displacement after a structure shift. So it breaks with force, right? So the break of structure has to break with force. That's important. Looking at discount, take the fib again, right? Look at where the fair value gap is. The fair value gap is exactly in the 62 and 70 level, right? So that's a beautiful discount level. And then compare it with NASDAQ, right? Like we just did. The fair value gap is just already in premium, and then goes into discount. So look at the timing, very important. 11:25 a.m. Compare ES and NASDAQ together, and then pick your trade accordingly, right? So this was the best, most logical entry for NASDAQ. You would have been in a little bit of drawdown, but that's part of the game, right? And then on ES, as soon as it hits the fair value gap, you should get in. Otherwise, you'd probably risk the chance to not get filled in and then miss the trade. That's something you don't want to have. But always the midway point of the fair value gap is a very sensitive point. So if you really want to have a tight stop, you go with the midway point, right? And then put your stop below the fair value gap. And then you would have had a, what is it? Around 6R, but we are not here to squeeze our RR, right? We have to have logical entry and stop loss. So a 3R was definitely possible on this occasion. So yeah, this was actually pretty good price action with the SMT, right? With the accumulation, manipulation, and distribution phase. And after that AMD model has occurred, there was an OTE entry possible inside the fair value gap. So overall, looks pretty nice. If you guys want to see more market reviews on indices, let me know. Again, right? If you liked the video and it was helpful for you, hit the like button, subscribe. If you have some questions, you can always drop a comment, right? And I will speak to you guys in the next video.